Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for this review video. We are Talking Cardboard here, and in this episode we're going to be going over Return to Dark Tower. As always, if you like what you see here, click the subscribe button, click the like button on this video. We've got plenty of content we love sharing with you guys. Interact in the chat below, follow us on Twitter. As always, I've got John to my right, I'm Jerch, and Corey to my left. And the game that we're reviewing this time, if you can't tell, is Return to Dark Tower. So Corey, how did you hear about this game?
I always follow Restoration Games online. I follow a lot of their games. We do tend to enjoy what they do. Essentially, Restoration Games as a publisher, they take older games, they revamp them, redo the rule set, the mechanisms, and kind of bring it up to today's standards. They did that with this game too. We have some of their other games such as Downforce and other titles like that that we really do enjoy a lot. And this is taking a game that came out back in 1981 is when I think it first came out. It had a nice big dark tower just like this too, but the game plays completely differently than that older version, as one could imagine over 40 years ago it first came out now. But it takes place in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. It's a 7-book series. I read a book and a half out of the series, so I know a little bit about it, but I know the Dark Tower comes into more of the forefront in the storyline in the later books, so I didn't know too much about the theming. I just know a little bit, but that didn't really detract from the gameplay at all. So that's awesome. How I heard about it.
So speaking of gameplay, John, can you kind of go over the nuts and bolts of this game?
Yeah, this is sort of a cooperative RPG-esque type game. It is fully app-driven through either the Apple Store or Google Play, so you need that to play. Basically, all you're doing is each person's taking on one of 4 heroes, and they come with their own little character sheets. In general, all the heroes have kind of the same set of actions they can take each turn, but the uniqueness that comes in is that they have a start of turn special ability, and they also have these passive abilities that you can upgrade and change throughout the game that are unique to each hero. So as you're moving around the board, what you're trying to do is kind of control the corruption going out into the land through these skulls, and try to prevent those from blowing up your sanctuaries and villages and citadels where you're able to go and take actions and get some buffs. You also have creatures that are popping out on the board that you're trying to keep in check, because as the app creates some random events, they can attack and destroy your buildings or give you corruption, which is one of the end game triggers. If you get more corruption than you can hold, game ends. If you run out of skulls, game ends. What else is there to this game? There's quests that you're trying to do, dungeons you're trying to delve into. There's just a lot of different things going on, with the ultimate goal of, over 6 months, you're trying to get to the point where you've drawn your adversary out of the Dark Tower onto the board and then kill it. Yep. Or at least that's what we assume. We've never actually beaten the game. We've gotten the adversary out. We fought it, but they are strong, and at that point we just were not as prepared as we thought. So that's kind of the game, and I mean, that was a long explanation, but that's still like the nutshell of the game. There's treasures and items and gear, quest items, tons of stuff.
Well, you're kind of forgetting the elephant in the room. It's the Dark Tower itself.
Right, and that's actually one of the cooler mechanisms of this game, is that at the end of your turn, everyone has to drop a skull down the center of this tower, and the skull may get stuck somewhere within here, or it may pop out and need to be placed into one of the regions. But what it also does is it triggers events through the companion app, and there's a variety of things that could happen with that. The monsters could attack, new quests can spawn, this tower can light up on one of the sides and actually ask you to remove one of these doors on the tower, which then either create more slots for skulls to pop out of, or they might come up with a sigil that makes some of the actions you can take cost some spirit. It's really cool, lights up a lot. Each section spins separately from each other, so the regions kind of get mixed up with what the detractors are, instead of it just staying static throughout the game.
And I think that is one of the coolest aspects of this game, is when you have some of these doors removed, and that's more dangers that you are subjected to. And then when the app has the tower rotating, then you hear it rotate or you see it rotate. You've got new glyphs that come out, or then these skulls start spewing out from different levels of this tower. And I just think that's really cool and dynamic, and a way that adds a lot of variability and unpredictability to this game. I think that that's a really, obviously it's unique aspect, but it's a really cool component of this game that I'm now going to physically move over to the side. So then we'll actually be able to see all of us a little bit better.
Yeah, it is kind of a table hog. It takes up a lot of space. We do have a cheap Lazy Susan that we put underneath the board here to help turn it, because the tower does get in the way of you being able to see into the other regions beyond it. So this kind of helps with that. But it, like John said too, so you've got a bottom, a middle, and a top section to the tower, and the way it moves, like Dirk was saying too, is just really unique. It's got a really cool toy feel to it. But having said that too, it does eat up a lot of battery. So you have to be prepared to either prepared with a lot of batteries or rechargeable batteries to play this game. I think we can get through maybe 4 games before it runs out of battery.
Sure, especially if we're being more prudent with our moves and our time. Because I know that we've played through so far all of ours on 1 charge or 2 charges on your rechargeable batteries.
On the 1 charge so far, yeah.
Yeah.
But we did eat through some other batteries.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
So what's one of your big pros about this game?
biggest pro for me is that it's very approachable for all different levels of gamer. I think it's a very simple rule set to understand, especially if you have one person who knows the game in and out. You can explain each character sheet from top to bottom, and that's exactly what you can do. Do one thing of each section. At the end of your turn, drop the skull on the top of the tower. There you go. That is your turn. Some of the nuances with what you're doing is very well laid out on the app itself. That's either on a tablet or phone. So when you want to interact with something, the app itself is very easy just to click on what you're interacting with, and it'll walk you through the steps on how to do that. So it's laid out very nicely, and the actions are laid out very simply to where anybody can understand it.
Yeah, and whether it's fighting specific types of foes or it's interacting with specific types of quests, is all those are symbolically different, and then you're able to quickly figure out what you're dealing with and then work your way through it. And speaking of the companion app, that's one of my biggest pros is when you are questing or going through dungeons, how you get to choose your own way through this, that you're like clicking on this map where you go and then it prompts you with what you have to be sacrificing in order to continue. And then you can mitigate that through different types of advantages this game has, where then if you are using an advantage, then it reduces the cost, or sometimes it even gives you a benefit.
Right.
Yep.
And then you can keep kind of pushing your luck through that. I know when I've been playing this game, I've been doing more of the quest side of things and not really the combat side. So I've really gotten into that element of it. And I think it's really fun, especially with the companion app. So it is so varied and changed up with what could be going on here. It's very dynamic. And I really like that aspect of it. John, what do you think about the companion app?
It works very well, and it simplifies things. It isn't like a complicated app, so it's very straightforward, like you were saying. You go in to fight your monsters. It's similar to the quest or dungeons. You're just picking some random cards, and it flips up, tells you the resources you need to sacrifice, and that's where you can put in your advantages. And like you said, you might get it reduced to no losses, or you might actually be gaining resources. So I think it interacts very well. When you're using the app and dropping the skulls in, the tower will actually do sounds of the enemies making activity or environmental things that come into here, like rivers lighting on fire, and there'll be sound effects for that. So that's actually pretty cool. Adds a little bit to the play experience.
Yeah. So what's another one of your pros for this game?
This is technically an expansion type thing, I guess, sort of, but we did buy the upgraded miniatures. Typically the monsters and adversaries and quest markers are just little cardboard tokens. Clearly, as you can see here, having a 2-scale Titan on the board as a miniature looks, 1, it's a great miniature. 2, it kind of gives a little bit of that Doom type feeling when that pops out on the board, because you actually see it in 3D compared to your heroes and the rest of the buildings on the map. So that was definitely an upgrade to the game. Well,
and especially when the uniqueness of this game is predicated on a huge 3-dimensional tower right in the middle, is having those 3-dimensional figures that you're fighting against. It seems like it's much more cohesive to this.
Yeah, this game is really a looker. The miniatures, even the skulls themselves, the skulls, you're not going to be able to see them on camera, but they're just so cool looking, and they're tactile. They work well with dropping them in and rolling, and the way they look on the board. Everything looks great. Everything sounds great. It just has that table presence that'll bring people to the table to want to see what's going on with it.
Yeah, and we've been able to bring this with groups of 3, with just us 3. We've been able to incorporate a 4th person. I know you've played it at 2 players as well.
Yep.
So this game scales pretty equitably.
I played it solo too.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so it's able to scale pretty equitably, where you're still getting a solid experience regardless of the player count.
For me, it feels the same at all player counts, honestly.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
And then you've got different difficulty levels, and we still haven't beat it, even when we kind of watered it down a little bit.
Yep.
But that's, not a con or a detractor of this at all. Am I missing anything in the pros of this game?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So let's transition to some of the cons of this game. And Corey, why don't you go first?
Well, one of the cons to this game for me personally is almost kind of one of the pros I first started with was the simplicity in the game. Yeah, it's nice for newer gamers. I would say this is more of an entry weight game that you can get newer gamers into, and yeah, it's fun for that crowd or for that group. But for me, it doesn't add enough complexity mechanically. Where the theming is nice and the app integration and kind of the story with it and the whole ambiance to it is nice. I don't think mechanically it's as strong as I need it to be for myself.
Yeah, and I guess I would echo that and kind of go, in addition to that is, it didn't seem like that there was a lot of really new exploration to do after maybe the first playthrough or so. In terms of the upgrades that you could get, the treasures even. I mean, I think in our first playthrough, we ran through the entire treasure deck.
And potions too.
Yeah, and potions and all that. Like, so there's a lot of components that could go to building your character, but it seems like you top out real quick.
Yeah.
And that there's only so many avenues to go, and especially with your virtues. So then the power-ups for your character is there's no variability to those, that you just have your 3 and then 1 for whatever region you're in. So there's no real wiggle room for how you can be making these characters your own, or how these characters grow up through the course of a campaign. And it seemed like that there's only a few things you could do, and then you're trying to just grasp onto things as you're progressing through the game. So
right. And that kind of applies to the foes as well. So you have a level 2, 3, and 4 foe that come out on the board, and it can be randomized between a variable amount of foes. Like you could have dragons instead of the Titan. But realistically, there's no difference in fighting the Titan versus the dragon when it comes down to it. It's you're picking 4 cards, going through the resources you're losing, and that's that. The only thing that does have some variability and change up the events that trigger during the game is what adversary you're facing does have an effect on the game. So at least there, when you're getting something random, that's going to have a distinct feel from playthrough to playthrough. But the rest of the foes are kind of... The only thing that changes is what are they weak to, and then you have to build your character to be able to combat that weakness.
Yeah, and there's only so much that you can do to really be combating for that anyways. Is it's mostly just press your luck and
or grab the right items.
Yeah, that was definitely a disappointing element for me for this game, was that it felt like the way you're combating each person felt very samey.
Yep, and then there'd be some where, I just wouldn't be able to contribute to the combat because my advantages weren't, really helping a whole lot. And I have to laugh when you mention the dragon, because it was in our first playthrough, and we had put in about 3 hours into this. And it wasn't looking good. And John, you just, for whatever reason...
Had to kill the dragon.
I had to kill it. You had to attack the dragon. and the dragon wasn't even the final boss. The rest of us were trying to work together towards that, but you had to be attacking the dragon, and you went in guns blazing, and you were taken down very quickly. So then we acted like that didn't happen, and then we ended up losing on the next turn anyways, which was mine. But so that was just kind of funny that you had to be fighting the dragon, and it didn't matter how much preparation you had going for you, you didn't have a chance.
Another one of the elephants in the room here with cons is definitely the price point.
Yes.
We need to hit on that. We got the game for $150 with out the miniatures expansion, which was another 80 to 85 bucks. Now at MSRPs for I believe 190 just for the base game. It is worth mentioning we have not played with the expansion, so take that with a grain of salt. That could kind of hinder some of our opinions on the variability in gameplay and such. But the price point is just pretty ridiculous.
It's very high for a game of this level.
Yeah. So, that especially when games now are, $60, $70 for a game that you'd want to get a lot of playthroughs with, the price point of this is very high. And it could be due to the really high quality of the components, to the fact that we've got a huge tower that lights up and has sound.
And mechanisms that are rotating everything, and
Yes.
doors that come on and off. Yeah, it's a pretty fancy little tower there.
It is, but then, you kind of get to it that it's a fancy little tower.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like that the price point matches up with the worth that we were getting out of this experience. So then that's kind of another con is it seems like it's got a lot of visually stimulating things, especially when you're buying the add-on to the miniatures. But the game itself seems like it's lacking that oomph behind it.
And I feel like the game could have been done very well with just like a cube tower that randomizes where things fall and made it a little bit more like Euro mechanism driven, where you can do a lot of the things that you can do with the app and or with the tower, I think more mechanically. I don't think you need to really make it go to this extent, but I know that is kind of the big selling feature of the game. Selling point of the game is coming to the table with these toys, and I know the original game back in the early 80s had a mechanical tower too, so that's what they were paying homage to. But I think it could have been done similarly with less amount of money put into it.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Are there any other cons that kind of stick out, or is it pretty much just the price point and then the lack of depth and customization going through this game? So if we don't have anything else that I'm missing, we can kind of go into our final ratings. And as always with these, we're trying to do the Board Game Geek 1 to 10 ratings on this scale. So if you're really into this stuff like Corey is in particular, you can kind of go there to understand what each number means a little bit more in depth. So John, why don't you kick us off with your review of this?
Yeah, for this one, I'd give it about a 7.5. It's a very solid game. Easy to learn. I think it's a great co-op game for people that are maybe newer to co-op games and like kind of a fantasy setting, or may really just enjoy the theme of the return to the Dark Tower and seeing how that tower interacts and plays. I do have a lot of fun playing it. I think, like I said, I think it's fun co-op RPG story-driven little game, and the monsters and the miniatures we got really help elevate it. But unfortunately, the time commitment, the money commitment, kind of just draw back a lot on the overall value, and it just, you're not going to get it to the table enough to probably get your money's worth unless you're very dedicated to this game.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it one step further. I would only give this like a 6. I enjoy it when we bring it out, but it does take a long time to set up. The companion app drains the battery on your phone, so we need to plug it in like right away, and then we got to be stepping around a cord. And if we didn't have the lazy Susan to be spinning around to see the different regions, the tower gets in the way of one whole region, so you can't see a quarter of the board.
Stand and move around and see what's going on if something's already coming up on the other side from you.
Then that's just one more thing. I would never say no to playing this game, but I know that this isn't something I would be able to bring to a casual gaming night. I wouldn't bring it around different types of groups. That this is kind of a niche one that we would try out and play. But it doesn't seem like something that I would actively seek out to try to play or suggest for us to play. It doesn't really feel like it's grabbing onto me, or that there's a quality that is really connecting with me that makes this something that I would want to have as part of my collection. So, yeah, what do you think? Wrap us up.
Yeah, for me too. The price point is, really holds it back for the amount of gameplay you get in it. So that is just definitely one major deterrent there. Like I had said a little bit earlier, we have not gotten the expansion to the table, so that could change the opinions or reviews on my final rating here, depending on how that plays. But again, it's enough of a price point here where I don't know if I feel like seeking out the expansion. I'm going to do some more research on it, maybe pick it up to try it, but it's just, we're already so invested in it price-wise, And the setup and teardown is just so involved already that I don't even know if I'm intrigued to go seek it out. But anyway, my rating is a 7 out of 10. It's a solid game. I'm giving it an average rating. It's definitely a game that I would consider playing more often, probably with newer players than with getting the same group to the table each time with it, because it does get a little samey after a while. And like I keep alluding to with the expansion type deal, that could take care of it. But yeah, the price point, the setup and teardown, and some of the actions just being a little bit too simplistic for me, and then really the gameplay mechanisms just isn't enough for me. I know that you get immersed with some of the noises, the sounds, the looks of it, the story, the reading, the this, but I'm not really into that. I want there to be a little bit more crunchiness with the gameplay itself. So 7 out of 10.
All right, so it seems like us here at Talking Cardboard, we won't be returning to the Dark Tower, but hopefully if you have a better experience with us, comment below. I know that we read through these from time to time, and if we're missing something fundamental with an aspect to connect with this game, we'd love to hear it, and then try it again. We will give games more chances. But for all of us here at Talking Cardboard, get out there and play some games.